Oh, this is good. This is the Friedman IRJ, much like their IRX and IRD direct solutions. This one, it's got everything you would need to just plug and play in a variety of different gigging situations. However, this one uses the Friedman Jake E. Lee signature amp as the basis on here. So you've got the two channels from the amp. The first channel, which is your cleaner channel, has a bright switch on it. There's the three-way IR selection switch on each channel as per the IRX and IRD. And then the second channel gives you a three-way bright switch along with a gain or kind of structure switch on there. One point of departure from the IRX and IRD is each channel does have a boost option with two trim pots each on the side of the pedal. However, this boost is a tube screamer style boost. So you have a control for tone and volume, like you would have a tone and volume control on the real pedal. Then you have separate boost volumes on here. So not only can you kind of kick the front end of each channel with a TS style boost, but you can increase the volume as well if you want it as a true solo level boost. Other than that, it is fairly self-explanatory. If you have tried the IRX or the IRD, or you've seen my videos on them, you kind of know what to expect. There is an effects loop in here. There's IR loading. You've got an input for your guitar and a balance output on here. There is MIDI, and Friedman have actually just updated the MIDI capabilities of all of their IR series pedals on here. So the IRX, the IRD, and the IRJ now have much more mature MIDI implementation on there, so you can control a bunch of extra functions on there. Furthermore, this pedal comes bundled with a bunch of different Friedman IRs. We're gonna hear a few of the stock ones on here, and then we'll dive into the editor where you can control the presence and kind of depth thump style switches. There's also a new low pass feature in there. So some extra goodies in the editor to set the pedal up. But much like the IRX and the IRD, the strong point is what you see is what you get once you've kind of set it up with the, I guess, internal mechanisms that you like in there. Then you just kind of twist the knobs and you pull some sounds. And it is super easy to pull some sounds on here. You know, if you start out on this first cleaner channel on here with everything at noon on a, say, neck single coil, you get this. So that first channel is great for your Marshall style low gain crunch. You could hear on there boosting it, and I've probably got the tone on channel 1 at around 1 o'clock and the volume all the way up on the boost. So again, imagine a tube screamer without the drive control, or with the drive control turned down to 0. You've got the output volume and the tone. That's how the boost section works in there. You could just use that as your kind of crunch and boosted up higher gain lead sound on there. The second channel is pretty interesting though, because there is that gain structure switch on there. So if I flick that down to get started. I should have mentioned as well, both channels actually have the 3-way bright switch like we heard. I kind of like this first channel with the bright switch in the down position, but let's hear channel 2. And again, with everything kind of at noon, it just sounds really good and it's really satisfying to play, and it's kind of right in my wheelhouse, this sort of setup. So we'll just have a listen to what the structure switch does. That second channel boosted is glorious. That's the only way I can describe that. So much fun happening on there. You could hear the different IR selections that I've got loaded in. I did replace the second cab slot in there with my free LTTV Mix 7 IR, which is linked in the video description if you want to grab it. I think the third slot on there, though, has a blend between like a greenback style speaker and an EV12L. It might just be an EV12L in there, but you can hear that's got a very distinct smooth character to it that kind of reminds me more of the Aussie era Jake stuff, whereas the IR that comes loaded in the first slot, it's way more your Badlands thing. I'll give you a quick example of that on the first channel. We'll hear IR slot 1 and then 3. They're my two favorite factory ones. say it a lot, but there's a lot of great pieces of gear coming out at the moment. However, some pieces of gear, for me anyway, tend to align with the way I like to play or the way I like to hear myself play, and they make me do very specific things. And I'm definitely copying that vibe from this pedal in here. Just the way it's voiced, like, you know, essentially a little bit of a hot-rodded 800 style thing on here, the ability to have the onboard boost. I could easily take this and something like, say, the Boss SDE3 dual delay or a Strymon Dig or an H90 or a Fractal FM3 tacked onto it and probably go and do most of what I would ever need to do during a rock gig. And again, what you see is what you get on it. I'd probably just use my own IR, but the built-in IRs are fantastic. I'll show you how you can use the software editor to kind of set up the guts of this pedal for what you like, and we'll look at a few more of the IR options on there. The software editor lets you manage things like the IRs that are selectable from the three-way switch on each channel, as well as this presence, thump, and low pass section per channel. So let's take a listen to the effect this can have on the core tone. We'll just use channel 2, which I've got set up at the moment. Let's have a listen to what the three-way presence switch does to start with. I've swapped over to my chillier Bell Aurora as well in drop D. It does this. You also heard the effect of the thump and low pass on there. I like the thump and the low pass at the default values, but I like the presence in this higher position on here. Furthermore, you can save MIDI recallable programs on here, so you can set the status of the channel, the boost, the loop bypass, and whether the IR is bypassed or not, and then have that saved in a slot, which can be recalled with a MIDI program change. Furthermore, they've added this new MIDI CC list in here. So if you wanted to control extra functions of the pedal remotely, you can see you've got channel toggle, boost, loop bypass, IR bypass. You can even select the IR position, the presence, deep, and low pass. So all of these things now can be controlled by sending MIDI CCs, which is a massive upgrade on here. So if you were using this with, say, a MIDI switching pedal board, or you were using it with a digital modeler that can send out MIDI CCs, you can basically control all of these elements of the IRJ remotely. And furthermore, you can now do that on the IRX and IRD as well if you own those. So that's a pretty cool upgrade. Before we go and finish with the editor, let's just take a look at a few of the included IRs in here. So I'm going to swap over to channel 2 here, and we'll go to this third slot. What I'm going to do is just kind of audition a few in here. So what I like about this is there's actually IRs and descriptions of what they are. So let's just go through a few. also like that they have some cabs shot by Ownhammer. Ownhammer do some of the best third-party IRs available. These are quite, I think, appropriate selections in here. This main one on here, 16 ohm, 6402 cone Celestion G12M75s from 1989, captured in a Friedman BE 4x12 cabinet with an SM57, an MD421 with some 70s API preamps. If you can't make that sound like rock and roll, I don't think you're going to make anything sound like rock and roll on there. So it's nice that this pedal has new features, but I also like that they've pushed those to the existing products on there. I believe the power amp simulation was updated as well. Sounds good. It feels good. It's pretty easy to use as well. If you want to know more about the Friedman IRJ, I'll put a link in the video description if you like what I'm doing here on the channel. Links to the music that I make with my band Ragdoll, as well as my Patreon. But for now, you should probably go back and listen to some vintage J.K. Lee. Go and listen to, I don't know, Ozzy's Shot in the Dark album, or if you can find it, the first Badlands album, because that has some of my favorite recorded guitar tones of all time. And I think this pedal just perfectly encapsulates what's so great about J.K. Lee's playing and his tone, and what Friedman are doing at the moment with this IR series of pedals. Any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.